Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 6 of the season, coming to you today from Jerez. My name is Ron Maunz, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Joshua Wilkie. Well, Josh, for what feels like the 15 billionth time here in the Weekend Warriors, we head to Jerez. We were here last week for the Spec Racer Fords and the Formula Fords, if my memory serves me correctly, and we're here now with the F V's. This track is one that really does not get any use in this sim. It's a bit of an oddity, this. It's a track that, as I was saying jokingly right before we went live with this broadcast, it is the most renowned racetrack located in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Used to host Formula One, still host of some pretty good events all throughout the calendar year, but just does not get a lot of use in iRacing, so this really is a bit of an unknown quantity for these racers here today.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. I had, as you were mentioning there, I had a chance to race here 2 times last week, or sorry, actually, I believe it was only once, but great track. I actually really like this place a lot. I think we've talked about it quite a bit, actually, in the last week or so, with a few of the drivers and stuff as well. As you're mentioning, a lot of drivers just haven't been here before. This is sort of a new quantity for many of the drivers out there. I enjoy this track. It's actually quite good. I think it's going to be fairly flat out in the V today, but it could be a bit of a mission of discovery here for a few drivers and stuff too. So I'm expecting to see some kind of off lap times and stuff a little bit here in qualifying while people kind of sort it out. And then I think the race is going to be pretty interesting today as well. It's going to be a real driver's track. This place is not easy to drive around and memorize. And yeah, it's going to be the driver, who went out there and put a lot of laps in and got the practice done that's probably going to do best today.
Yeah, this is certainly a racetrack that requires a lot of training, and doing our investigative journalism throughout the week, and by investigative journalism, we just mean spying in the Formula V Discord to see what the drivers are saying. A lot of people really worried about getting enough practice time to know their way around this track. It is a somewhat complicated circuit, this, in the moto layout that we are running here today, around about the same 13 turns in all, and it'll certainly be a test of these drivers' skills from the drop of the green all the way through to the fall of the checkered. But as we follow Michelle Lynn at the present moment here in this qualifying session, about to get some of the first lap times on the board here soon, I believe. Of course, here in this Formula V Weekend Warriors series, these drivers have a 15-minute long solo session, 4 laps allotted to them to try and get the job done. Let's just see if they will be able to get the job done between now and the end of all of this. But we follow Jörg Mani making his return here to the Masters class. And he's had a pretty interesting ride thus far this season. I haven't really seen him run throughout any of the Weekend Warriors categories here in Season 3 of 2025, but we always have to keep an eye on the janitor. Doesn't matter what kind of car he's in, he is always looking to try and impress. But as we're still about 3 minutes in to this qualifying session, I want to let all of you tuning into this broadcast know that today's broadcast of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting is brought to you by Brian Szynski and the Chicago region of the SCCA, the Sports Car Club of America. Thank you, Brian. A driver here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors, and a pretty all-around nice guy as well. And, I'm a little bit biased, obviously. I spent about a decade now running in the Philly region of the Sports Car Club of America, and even though I haven't turned a wheel at an autocross event since 2023, June of 2023 now at this point, I am still a member of the SCCA. Just got my 10-year membership pin last year, and that, along with my 5-year membership pin that I got on the 75th anniversary of the SCCA back in 2019, some of the most prized possessions that I have in my repertoire of many things that I picked up in my racing adventures. I think that may have been the first time that anybody has ever said the word repertoire on an iRacing broadcast. So, there's a first time for everything, and we're living it up the only way we know how here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast, if you enjoyed tonight's racing action, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. About to get our first qualifying times on the board. Looks like Ethan Orr will be the first as it stands right now, saying a 204.543. Ethan Orr has had a clean sweep of the pole positions thus far this season, not only in the Spec 1 class, but overall. Ethan Orr has been the creme de la creme when it comes to qualifying here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors, so going to expect round about the same from him. He's currently holding on to that provisional pole as Jim Brewster and Brian Szynski complete the top 3.
Yeah, it's looking like Ethan Orr again out front. Jim Brewster in second place there so far as well. So that is a pretty good lap time here for Jim Brewster so far. Only 2/10 off the leader. Szynski just behind him, and then Parvinder Ladar, last week's winner, in 4th place with Michelle Lynn just behind him. So I think this place is going to be a little bit difficult for some drivers out there, and we're definitely seeing the drivers who put the time in, or perhaps just had the luck of driving around here a few times. I'd like to mention, actually, we're not going to be able to do points today, unfortunately. It looks like our points didn't load correctly here, so I'm not actually able to get them in. I think I could probably show you S1 and S2, or sorry, S1 and Masters, but unfortunately the S2 standings were not present there this time, so unfortunately won't be able to do that. But we can probably, Ron, go over a little bit of kind of how everybody's been doing there in the last winners of the last race and so on.
Yeah, we can certainly do that because it has been an intriguing season up to this point here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Spec 1 has seen 2 different winners up to this point. Felix Samoas was able to get the job done at Alton Park, Phillip Island, and Cadwell Park. While Nate Coliseo, your winner last time out at VIR, was able to capture the win there and at Summit Point 2 weeks prior to that. The Spec 2 category has been rather up in the air. Parvner Ladar won the first race and won the last race of the season here. So 2 wins up to this point for him. Andrew Love has grabbed 2 wins as well, those coming in races number 2 and 4, with Michelle Lynn currently the meat of that sandwich as it stands presently with a win at Summit Point. I should have said the cheese whiz inside the cheesesteak. That's what I should have said. I am kicking myself the fact I didn't come up with that on the fly. Masters category has been the story of dominance for Antonio Reese. He has 3 wins up to this point in the season and is on the back of 2 straight poles in that category, but it is neither Alan DeGassis or Antonio Reese on the pole right now, and Antonio not actually going to be racing here. He said in full confidence, hey, look, I don't own this track, so I'm just going to take the week off, which, fair enough. Jim Brewster, though, is the one currently at the top of the Masters racers right now. Getting to the halfway point of this qualifying session, Ethan Orr still holds on to the top. Jim Brewster, top of Masters. And Brian Zazinski currently running at the front of a very packed and very competitive Spec 2 field.
Yeah, Spec 2's definitely been it's been a good season kind of across the Weekend Warriors in Spec 2. There seems to be I guess probably because of the new weighted system there on how we actually pick who is in Spec 1 and Spec 2 seems to be a bit of an improvement. There's definitely seems to be a really good Spec 2 class, and Spec 1 isn't just totally littered with basically everybody anymore, and I really like that for sure. We're having some good battles in Spec 2. You're also seeing a lot of Masters drivers, especially this season, really punching, I wouldn't say above their weight. They are Masters drivers after all. They have more experience than mostly anybody out there. And man, they're ripping this year. Like Jim Brewster up in 5th place here. We've seen Jorg Manny last season and this season dominating. We've seen Antonio Reese in multiple categories now up front. So, just because it's the Masters drivers certainly doesn't mean they're slow. And I've had to deal with them out on track a few times there. And they're quick and make good decisions and stuff as well. So really happy to see how the classes are actually working out in the Weekend Warriors, and I think it's been an improvement.
I have a certain affinity for that Masters category because it's fantastic to see those racers run as strong as they do. And the first ever interview I got a chance to do on my first ever Weekend Warriors broadcast back in March of 2023 was with Jorg Manny. It was a Spec Racer Ford race at Road Atlanta. I got to have a chat with him. It was myself and our old pal Tim Cox on the call for that broadcast. Tim, a very, very nice guy, and I hope he doesn't take offense to me sharing this on the air, but it's nothing bad, don't worry. Tim, he got out of the iRacing broadcasting sphere a couple of years ago, decided to take a step back. He was really a mentor for me for the longest time, gave me advice early on. Of course, he was my predecessor in terms of commentating the Sunday Weekend Warriors series. It was him doing it for the longest time, and then I stepped in, not really knowing what I was doing, and here we are about 2 years later, and I would still argue that I still do not know what I'm doing, but Tim sent me a lovely message a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I'm slowly but surely figuring out. Felix Samoas has figured out his way around this track. He just jumped up to the pole as I'm going on this little tangent of mine. Only 100th of a second between himself and Ethan Orr, though, so still very close up at the front. Felix, a veteran of these Weekend Warriors. But yeah, Tim sent me a very kind message after he heard me out of the blue on the Spot 24 show a couple of weeks ago. He was like, hey, is that you? I was like, yeah, I think it is. I'm not too sure. I've been up for about 14 hours and I've been yapping on the internet for 9 of them, so I'm not entirely sure. And he sent me a very, very nice message, which was very touching to me. But Felix Samoas, that was a pretty good lap time from him. I think we have a titanic battle with himself and Ethan Orr, who's tracking to put on a pretty good lap here. Purple in the first 2 sectors, not great in the third. Let's see what he can do in the final.
Yeah, it looks like definitely he has bested the first 2 sectors here. Not so great in the third, and he is chugging through the last sector here right now. Looks like he's about to put in a bit of a flyer, and yeah, just to follow that up, Tim, as well for me, you know, a bit of a mentor as well. Very nice guy, very cool, really easy to work with, and just an effortless commentator as well. We miss him around here at SMB for sure. He's helped a lot of people out as Isanor. Does a little jank to the left, a little jank to the right. And you're backwards.
And, you know, incidentally, the first ever broadcast I did here on Slow Motion Broadcasting a little over a year ago at this point in early July of last year. It was a Formula V Weekend Warriors broadcast at Summit Point, and him and I were on the call together for that, and he was actually pulling double duty producing as well for that show, which I say this as someone who does it every single Saturday night over on Ron's Race Nights. That right there was a plug about as slick as 80 grit sandpaper. I can assure you that it is very difficult having to commentate and produce a race at the same time. I've grown a newfound respect for producing and commentating at the exact same time as someone who's had to do it all by himself. That's the second time I've done that in as many days on the show. Me singing that.
Well done. A little bit of music in there is not bad. A little bit of melody. Yeah, the producing thing while talking, you know, eventually you just kind of get it, and it becomes a bit of a muscle memory thing. But man, when things go wrong, it's all fun until something goes wrong, and then you have to talk and try to figure something out at the same time, and that can be a little bit stressful at times. But really glad to see you on the Ron's Race Night shows, and everybody should be tuning into those. It's been really great. I've actually raced in a couple of them. I even won one actually, so not tooting my own horn there too much. But anyway, on to Brian Belinsky. It's like we got a bit of a new driver to the series here, I think, Ron. I don't think we've had Brian with us too many times. I remember seeing him out there, but coming to terms with the car. Looks like he's getting some lap times down. Hopefully be improving a little bit. Doing the kind of standard spin there that he was here with us last week, I believe, as well. Another commentator, if I'm not correct. You know Brian, don't you?
I am aware of Brian. Yes, he is the commentator for many of the events with the SCCA, whether it be the Hoosier Tour or some other stuff going on in the other world of American sports car racing. He's a fantastic commentator and the host of the Inside the SCCA podcast, which used to be a very close-knit partner with the Ray Esports / Weekend Warriors world. Brian, he's come out here on the racetrack for the past couple of weeks here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors world, and nice to see him on track here yet again. Currently have some technical issues I'm trying to battle with on my end as we are rapidly approaching upon the end of this qualifying session. It looks like everybody has gotten their lap times on the board. One more driver left out there on the racetrack, I believe, maybe Tortola. That or my live timing screen is currently frozen, which it is right now. So clearly, what I think happened is I've made too many jokes about iRacing and now decided to crap out on me. But Josh, I will hand the mic off to you because we got Brian Szynski up there in the area interview waiting area. So I'll let you drag in the sponsor of today's broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, how's it going, man? We'll pull you in the booth here for a few minutes. Thanks for sponsoring the race today. And
he's vanished.
Did we hear you? Oh, did he vanish?
He's vanished.
He vanished. Oh,
I think
bummer.
he went back to the FB chat.
He was in there just for a sec, and then we lost him. Oh, well, we didn't get to him quick enough. My bad, Brian. We were going to have a talk to him and about the Chicago SCCA as well, but I guess what we'll do instead is just thank Brian for this week. We can't do this without the sponsorship of the rounds of this from the drivers or the viewers, and we always, of course, love
he's
and
back.
Appreciate it. Oh, and he's back.
He's
Let's see if we
returned.
can't bring him
Here we
in.
go.
Here we go.
Second try the charm.
got him?
Oh, no. Oh, God. It's ping-ponging out. Oh, there we go.
There, you're ping-ponging around
yeah.
in the chat there, but we have him in now. Brian, thanks for sponsoring today's race and the Chicago area SCCA. Is there anything you'd like to say there about the sponsor today?
Huge shout out to Chicago Region SCCA, which I am a member of. The V's and the Formula Fords weren't allowed at any of the Super Tours, and Chicago Region really went on a limb to make it happen for Formula Fords and Formula V's at the June Sprints, which is the premier event 75 years in a row. And V's and Fords have been there for the last 50, so it wouldn't be the same without him, and I can't thank him enough for making it happen.
Awesome. Yep, that's awesome, Brian, and thank you so much for sponsoring the Vs. We can't do it without you here either, so we'll see you on track today, and we can't thank you enough for sponsoring the races, man. Always great to see you on track and participating with us.
Cheers.
Right on, man. Have a good race. Cool. So we are about to start up here, Ron. We have a grid forming. Awesome from Brian Trzynski, and always good to talk to the drivers here. We're going to try to keep pulling drivers in maybe a little earlier next time as well, so we can get a bit more conversation out of them. But let's get to our grid.
Yeah, let's take a look at the starting grids. We also take a look at the completely still flags on the inside of the racetrack. Felix Simoes will start this race from the pole position. Ethan Orr will join him on the front row. It will be Tortello starting this race in third, next to Nate Colascio in P4. It will be Jörg Mani starting this race in fifth. Top qualifier of the Masters racers, Jim Brewster Series Atman, will start this race in seventh. Right behind them will be Donald Stout in seventh, and Parvino Lador starting from the Spec 2 pole will line up in P8. Brian Trzynski will start this race in 9th. Josh Justice rounds out your top 10. Michelle Lynn, Series Admin in P11. Kurt Nunez in P12. Looking right behind them, we've got Dan Trzynski in 13th. Jason Greider in 14th. Nick Tullo in P15. Wayne Buttermore in P16. And Brian Belansky in 17th, rounding out your starting grid here for this race this evening as we take a look at the aerial view of Jerez. This track, the host of one of the more controversial moments in the history of motorsports, when Michael Schumacher turned in a little bit too early there on Jacques Villeneuve, trying to take him out of the race, and in the process of that, he took himself out of the race all the way back at the season finale for the Formula One World Championship back in 1997. But Josh, we have got a far different race with far slower race cars, but I have a feeling we're in for a barn burner here at this technical but still rather quick track.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ron. This place race is real good, and I think we're in for a pretty good one today as well. It's going to be a definitely a bit of a discovery for some drivers out there, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. It's not going to be quite as easy to draft and just stay in the game around here. You're going to have to know this track, so let's see how she goes. Here comes the start.
And here we go as they head their way around the final corner, waiting for that green flag to come out. For the first time this season, it is not Ethan Orr at the pole position, although he is in P2. It's Felix Simoes leading us to green as the green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. Looking like a pretty good start for Simoes. Everybody else scrambling behind as they head their way down into turn number 1, the heavy braking zone to kick off this lap. Maybe a bit of a choke point. Let's see how everyone will be able to make it through. They make their way through turn 1 clean, now down to 2. Ethan Orr feeling a lot of pressure. He's stuck on the outside. Jim Brewster gets a move done on him to jump his way up into third. Some blinking in and out badly there for a driver right in the mid portion of this field. That's Nate Colascio blinking wildly in and out. The driver who won last time at VIR, not winning the battle with his internet service provider as it stands right now.
Not quite so much. It's always so difficult to see that as a driver when somebody's blinking in front of you. The worst time it can happen too is on the first lap, when everybody is so close together. But it looks like they've sorted it out. Actually, very clean first lap so far. We had a little bit of position change there. We see Tortello on the inside having a look down the inside of Tortello, just behind him as well. Ethan Orr looking to make some positions up from the start here. Not an easy one as we got a spinner in the back there, Ron.
Yeah, that was a big moment heading off through the hairpin. That right there was down into turn number 6. That hairpin may be tough for these racers all throughout today, and definitely got to be having to keep tabs on that throughout the rest of this race here this evening. But we follow them heading their way off into turn number 8 here. Actually, no, that's turn number 9. You can tell I'm having some internet issues and connection issues right now because I can't get my usual track map up here. So clearly the iRacing broadcasting gods are deciding to throw a curveball my way. Nate Colascio, though, he dropped down like a stone thrown into a pond. Not sure what happened to him. He's dropping down like a rock now in P15. Bad start for the driver, the number 8, Brian Belansky. He's not gone off to a good one. I believe he was the spinner that we had a little bit farther behind. He's about 8 seconds back. Donald Stout not gone off to a good start either. The driver of the 960 car really running into some woes here in the early stages. But Tortello leads over Felix Simoes, Jim Brewster, and Ethan Orr.
Yeah, we've had a few drivers take to off track here as well. I'll have a quick look at Nate Colascio, and then we will go back, and I believe it was Donald Strout there that had an incident at the beginning here. So I'll have a quick look here and see what happened to Nate Colascio. He was blinking, so he's a little bit of covering off for Jim there. Nothing Nope, yeah, he just got a little bit too spicy, I think, behind Jim there, and ended up having some contact and spun. Probably a little bit of internet issues there. It's pretty hard to tell exactly what happened when somebody's blinking in and out. You know, you're going to have a bit of tolerance problems there in between drivers, but looks like he's back on track, moving with no damage. We'll have a look at Donald Stroud here and see exactly what happened. Looks like very similar situation, I think, with Donald here, who ended up sort of getting squeezed and then just shot out to the side of the track. We'll have a quick look. Just get it wrong into the back of Jorgmani. So again, sort of the same deal, sort of tripping over the brake pedal there, I believe, trying to make up time through mid-corner on.
Yeah, same sort of situation that we saw last time added VIR heading down into turn number 1. I believe Antonio Reese was the one that fell victim to that. The back end of these Formula Vs, it's odd. If you touch your front nose to the back of these cars, it basically feels like you have absolutely zero grip when that contact is made, and around you will spin. So unfortunate there. Heading down into turn number 6, but there's still plenty of time left to go in this race for these drivers to try and pick up the pieces and make their way back up to the front. So a battle with Jim Brewster and Ethan Orr, who was undefeated with pole positions up to this race here. Felix Samoa is bipping him in the qualifying session. He's still been a very good driver to keep tabs on, but despite having a just about clean record in qualifying, he's got one thing not going for him. That is the fact that he has 0 wins up to this point. The top qualifier from 5 races, 0 for 5 in terms of that race win column. Let's see what the driver, the number 22, may be able to do here to round off the first half of the season.
Yeah, you've got to be able to transition those poles into wins. But man, racing on track with a bunch of drivers is a lot different than doing laps on your own, especially in the V. Sometimes it seems having that speed really just kind of makes you a target for everybody else, and I think that's probably why it's been so difficult for Ethan Orr out front, just breaking air for everybody, and he's just able to kind of attack him. And the racecraft out there, looks like we've got a bit of debris on track now too as well. Pretty tight front group here for sure. I'm excited to see exactly how this is going to work out. We have some pretty major players at the front here. Any one of these drivers in the top 5 or 6 could easily take this win today and has the capability to do it. I believe they're all winners at one point or another through the season here. So this is a pretty exciting race around Juarez. We're again getting another good race around here. This place just races great, Ron.
Yeah, that it absolutely does. Oh, here we go. 3 wide, heading our way down the backstretch off into turn number 6. Oh, that's going to be some hair racing stuff. Brewster backing out of it, rightfully so. Actually, no, that's Felix Samoa's backing out of it. My apologies. He's still side by side. There's the fight. There's the 2x2 pack as they head their way through turn number 7. These racers decide to throw caution to the wind early and really give us a good fight on our hands. Tortolo holding on to it now. Felix Samoa jumps up back into P2. Jim Brewster rounding out your podium still in P3. But this pack up in the front is insane. The top 10 covered by practically nothing.
Yeah, I think we have about 3 or 4 drivers here at the front, Ron, that think they should be in the front. That's what it looks like to me. You have Ethan Orr back there who knows he can be leading today. You have Jim Brewster, who's just a consummate, competitor. He's going to fight you for a corner, especially if he's up this close. Doesn't matter if he's in 3rd or if he's in 12th. He's going to race you exactly the same, and that's great. He's just a consummate racer out there. So I would expect him to start making some moves here as well. You have Joshua Justice in the back there, just kind of looking at things. We haven't mentioned him too much today or even in some of the other broadcasts, but he's a fast driver, a real SRF driver in real life. He can make good decisions out there, and he's definitely gotten podiums and wins before as we're going 2 wide, almost 3 wide there for a moment, back into T1 again. This track just races so good, Ron. There's so many opportunities to pass around here. You can almost do it in every corner.
Yeah, you really can. This is that sort of racetrack where if you start to see these racers begin to battle, you can see them continue to be side by side for quite some times. I have a feeling that throughout this race, we will see these drivers continue to throw haymakers at each other. It's just a sort of racetrack that can be conducive to something like that in these low power, highly slipstream dependent cars. Definitely got to see that play a huge factor in this race here tonight. Looking at side by side fight, loving Nick Tullo and in Baltimore. That's a battle for P14 right now. We'll note that Donald Stout has run into some difficulties. He's dropped down. He's actually towed back to pit lane and is completely out of this race. As we take a look at him heading down into the turn, that's into turn number 1. And survey says there's a moment down to turn number 2. Let's just find out. He gets his way into the brakes there a little bit deep around. He's gonna go. No.
Yeah. Those are painful. Those are painful ones, Ron, when the rear end just kind of keeps going and going, and you think you have it, 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 and then no, you don't have it, and it's just a slow-mo train wreck for you. But yeah, that's an easy one to do in these cars. That's sort of the same incident I have in them, to be honest. This is not an easy track, and it looks like, you know, some of the drivers just haven't been able to get quite as much practice around here, and it's needed around here, especially over a 30-minute race. You need to be hitting those marks, or it just becomes a bit of a mess around here. It's not an easy track.
Yeah, it gets very hard to try and get yourself back into the right frame of mind after a moment like that takes place. At the front of the field, I do want to say a driver that's in a real good frame of mind. It's not Jerez and Jim Brewster. It's actually the driver on the outside of him right now, Josh Justice. Talk about a flyer of a start. He's up 5 spots from where he started in this race. Incredible stuff from the driver of that 099 car. He's going to look to try and get moved on Brewster here into turn number 1, down the inside into the turn, and he's got to take that spot. Well done to Justice. He is a wheelman in these Formula Vs, despite being a real-life spec racer for a driver, one that I don't believe has gotten the opportunity to really extensively drive a Formula V car in real life. He's a pretty good wheelman of them in the sim. He was a Formula V champion in the Ray Esports Club Racing League this past winter, and he's really a good driver whenever it comes to these low-power, low downforce, no downforce cars that are so slipstream dependent. There are some conversions that he can make from the spec racer forward to the Formula V. So I think that's part of the reason why Josh Justice at certain points in time can take to this car like a duck to water.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right, Ron. This is getting a little frenetic out there. We're 3 wide again, going into the same corner. I believe we were 3 wide last time. Jim Brewster on the inside, kind of losing out that time. Didn't really work out that time. I believe Ethan Orr was able to pick up a position there. Joshua Justice still just picking around in the back, like you said, Ron. He's a consummate driver for sure. He's a wheelman, definitely. He's going to be out there. He's a thinker behind the wheel. You know, we know he's going to try to make a good move and stuff here. We see Jorg Manny now starting to attack. So this is getting pretty froggy up front here. Jorg Manny down the inside takes Josh Justice. So that was a really opportunistic move there from Jorg Manny. Very heads-up driving.
Yeah, so Jorg really making up some moves. The driver who started this race from that Masters pole position, P5, currently running in P5, but he has one Masters competitor in front of him. That Masters fight going to be intense with some very heavy hitters up at the north end of the field. Let's take a look at that. That close quarters moment as the field ran their way out of turn number 8. That a little over 90-degree turn. It's about 120 degrees, I would probably say, heading off through there. And you can really get a run working in these Formula Vs as we're 3 wide at the front. Ethan Orr, Tortolo, and Felix Moes throwing haymakers at each other down into 1. That's going to be Orr jumping his way up into P1. Tortolo slot in second. Samoa's Brewster now going to be involved in their own little side-by-side squabble into turn number 2. Looks like we'll see Brewster potentially get the leg up there, as it looks like Jorg Manny also going to follow in suit. Jorg does not want to lose touch with Jim Brewster as well. That is a battle for that Masters win, as much as Manny not running full-time, not really contending for the championship. Jorg Manny is a racer, and he wants to go out and get those trophies.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a very opportunistic driver as well. Doesn't really push super duper hard on you, but if you make a mistake, he is definitely going to be there to monopolize on it. And that's what we're seeing today, as we see Ethan Orr taking the lead of the race here as well, making his way up to the front. We're going 3 wide again with Jim Brewster, Tor, and Felix just for a moment, and they're going to sort themselves out as Felix trying to go up the inside of Tor. He's going to make it happen there pretty much. And yeah, pretty clean move from Felix there on the inside of Tor. Joshua Justice making a little bit of headway there as well now on Mountie side by side. There's a lot of racing going on in the front here. We can see Parviner Ladar there in the background too, with this other group of cars that just kind of seem to be kind of hanging in the wings here, hoping that something up front's going to happen, Ron.
And, you know, touching on another class that we see involved in this pack, albeit a little bit farther behind, Parviner Ladar, Brian Szynski, the sponsor of today's broadcast, and Michelle Lynn, all running, I wouldn't say completely nose to tails. You got the Masters racer of Kurt Nunez involved in that pack as well. Nunez, another good racer here in the Weekend Warriors world, could cause that Masters battle to get even more spicy than it already is. But no, that's a battle for Spec 2, not only for the win, but also for the championship points lead as well. That Spec 2 category has been rather intense. We've seen, as you noted a little bit earlier on this broadcast, Josh, we have seen a reinvigoration of that Spec 2 category because of recent rule changes made here in the Weekend Warriors world. We're seeing some drivers return to the class. We're seeing just a new life be breathed into a class that I've always found rather interesting, and now produces some of the best championship battles here in this series. As, oh, look at Ethan Orr. Thought he was going to try and hold on to it, but he overshoots it coming out of turn number 1, and he's going to drop down to third. Samoas gets a move done on him. Tor going to follow in suit, and there we go. Orr now down to P3.
Yep, little mistake. That's as easy as it happens. Actually pretty good to stem the bleeding there and only lose 2 positions. It's really easy to lose more than that, especially if there is a train of cars that you just can't file back into. But he was able to file back in there pretty good. He's just kind of finding the, Jim Brewster into the back of Ethan Orr, and that's going to end his race right there. The same way we lost the other 2 drivers as well, just trying to get a little too close mid-corner, and then I think what's happening there is you sort of tap your brake mid-corner in a really weird orientation, and then you've just kind of lost it as we're going 3 wide here again, and that's probably going to sort itself out just before we get there. But we'll go back and have a look at that. Again, I think it's the same sort of scenario there where you have a bit of rolling rate, a bit of rolling speed, mid-corner a little higher than the guy in front of you. You're trying to keep that rolling speed. You're just not able to, or you're going to get into the back of them, and then, boop, you just trip over yourself and end up backwards. And I think that's what happened to Jim Brewster there, Ron.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there, Josh, as he was heading his way all through turn number 5, one of the longest corners around this track, where you got to keep that momentum rolling. These cars are momentum-based. If you sacrifice the momentum, you're just going to be a sitting duck heading down the back straightaway. That follows to turn number 5. Really important to try to arc that car through and keep up that run as the side-by-side racing went on between Samoas and Tullo. Orr had to check up to avoid hitting the back of the cars in front, and in the process of that, Brewster had absolutely nowhere to go but run into the back of Orr. That's a big and costly moment for Brewster. He's now dropped down to lucky number P13, but it has created a bit of a split at the front end of this pack. You got Felix Samoas, Tortolo, Ethan Orr, and Josh Justice. They're now in their own little breakaway. This is a battle for the podium spots and the win overall and in Spec 1, so that's going to be a good, intense battle to keep our eyes on throughout the rest of this race. And then behind, we got Kurt Nunez, Parker Ladar, Brian Szynski, Michelle Lynn, and Jurg Mani. I think Mani may have a slightly wounded race car, because we heard as we were riding on board with Jim in that moment down through turn number 5 last time by, pretty big clunk to at least one car who clipped Jim. Not sure whether that was Yurkmani or what, but there is at least one car in this pack that probably has a little bit of suspension damage, and it may not seem like too terribly much, but it can hurt you quite badly.
Yeah, let's have a quick look. I think you're right, Ron. I think he probably got caught up in it. I didn't notice actually that he was so far back, so thanks for pointing that out. He definitely did get caught up in this, didn't he? It looks like we're going to get a little bit of a thud and then another one.
Funny.
So, yeah, I think maybe he's got a little bit of damage. If not, that definitely at least slowed him down and lost him a couple positions, Ron.
Yes, I think Yurkmani, with those clangs, he may have a little bit of suspension damage, potentially. I will say these Formula Vs, to a certain extent, are built like tanks. In some other extents, they're built like rubber balls, because whenever they pop up into the air, they bounce around like one. But Mani, I think he's still running moderately quick as he runs a little bit wide for turn number 8. Nothing too major that I'm seeing from him. Szynski did not have a good start to this lap, but he has now since caught up to the back of Michelle Lynn. Who right on board with Ethan Orr, though, currently slotted in P3. Samoas, Tullo, Orr, and Justice all giving us a good battle to talk about. We're past the halfway mark of this race as well now. Less than 14 minutes to go here, Josh. And the battle up in the front, only 4 cars strong, but 4 drivers with some very different strategies and very different backgrounds.
Yeah, it's actually pretty awesome, isn't it, to have these, we have 4 pretty different drivers here. They've all taken wins at different places. We have a couple real-life drivers in there as well, mixing around with some simulated drivers who are just killing it in the sim as well. So this should be a pretty interesting one. We had a pretty big pack. We're now down to 4. We've lost a few drivers, maybe a little bit too aggressive here and there, and now we're down to the last 4 here, and we'll see how it works out. really sure who I'd pick for this one, but I'd say today, I don't know, it looks to me like Josh Justice is really thinking in the car today. He's waiting. He hasn't been too pointy yet, and to me that just means he's waiting to be pointy. So I'm waiting to see something from him, Ron.
You know, interestingly enough, I feel like in these 4 cars, we have 2 different kinds of drivers. We have the hunters versus the hunted. And I think it's split exactly through the middle. You got Felix Samoa as their current championship points leader in Spec 1. Had a brilliant run up to this point in the championship. 3 wins. If he can get the job done, it'll be his 4th in class and his 3rd overall. Of course, Andrew Love playing spoiler a couple of weeks ago at Phillip Island, grabbing the overall win there. We nearly saw a bump and run attempted from Tortello on Felix Samoa's. Tullo, your reigning champion for about a year at this point. He won the championship in Season 4 of 2024, won it again in Season 1 of 25, won it again last season in Season 2. I don't think he's going to be in championship contention here for this season. I say that knowing fully well that we said that a lot about him last season, and look what ended up happening there. So Tortello, another driver that's definitely in that hunted category. Meanwhile, you got the 2 right behind. Josh Justice, we know to be he's a driver that will not say no to just throwing the gloves on the ground, breaking out the elbows, and really starting to dice for one of these wins. He's a driver that knows what he can do behind the wheel of these Formula Vs. As he said, though, he is playing the patient game here, so I think he's waiting for the end of the race to really start throwing haymakers. And then you've got Ethan Orr right in front, the driver, the number 22. As I've said, leading into the qualifying session we had earlier on, he had been faultless. Really, he has still been faultless thus far this season. In the first 6 races, he's had starts of first, and second. So he has had a brilliant run up to this point in the championship. So there is not much that you could say about Ethan Orr in reference to how good of a driver he is in these cars, but I'm sure he wants to swap out that pole position for a top position on the podium. So I would not be too shocked if Ethan Orr is deciding to angle to be in contention for the end of this race either. He came oh so close last time out at VIR. I think he wants to try and get that win here tonight.
Yeah, I think you're right for sure. It's got to be a little bit of a sore spot there that you're able to get this speed and not be able to convert it into a win out there, and I'm sure he's looking for it. And exactly like you're saying, really good breakdown of all the drivers there, Ron, for sure. Good job. Perfect there with Josh Justice and stuff as well. I believe, that's why I was mentioning it. Usually he's a little bit more pointy, but today he's not. He seems to kind of be just waiting here till the end of the race, and I have a feeling that that's because he's going to pounce at the end of the race here. But of course all the other drivers are as well, and they're thinking exactly the same thing, I would think, out there. They want to keep everybody behind them as best they can, or make some moves forward as best they can, and we don't have a whole lot of time left to do it here. I would be thinking about just kind of trying to keep this pack alive and together for the end of the race, so I could make my move if I was one of these drivers here. I'm not sure I'd want to be Felix Samoa's out front right now.
If you're Felix Samoa's, what are you thinking at this point of the race? Are you thinking, okay, maybe I'll try and take it a little bit calm, take it a little bit easy? Let's just find out. We'll say Jörg Mani, things are going from bad to worse for him. I think he had a moment with himself and Parviner Ladords down into turn number 2. And I will say Jörg Mani currently has a black flag, and that may have been what caused him to go over that incident point limit. Stopped on the outside of turn number 2, hit that curb, and loops it through there. However, that battle that he left behind is still rather intense with Lador, Nate Colascio, Brian Szynski, Kurt Nunez, and Michelle Lynn all duking it out for those spots. I will say, though, one driver that may be feeling a little bit comfortable about their chances if this battling really starts to slow down this pack is going to be Brian, because you look a little bit farther behind, about 2.5 seconds back to be a bit more precise. Who's there? But his brother Dan. So we may end up seeing a little bit of brotherly love help out in this battle as well. So who's going to win out in that class? Because it is a battle of some championship contenders in that class as well. Will it be Lador? Just got them moved on Colascio, heading off through turn number 2. Actually, no, Colascio going to take advantage of that inside run through 3. Going to hold off still. Now Szynski got to look to try and get that move done. Will Szynski have that brotherly love to help him out, or will Michelle Lynn from the city of brotherly love be able to get that Spec 2 win?
No, you worked that one in good. Nice job. Yeah, it's getting pretty awesome racing here in the mid-pack now, as well as Colascio way off track, trying to make up some time here. You can see he is trying to get back to that front pack, or at least salvage as many places as he can after that incident there. Unfortunately, we lost Mani as well. They're looking like a little bit of frustration perhaps from some of the drivers there, causing a bit of an incident there as we see Coliseo going really wide again there. He is using every inch of the track to try to get away from this pack of drivers here, so he's no longer attacked. We're seeing Brian Straczynski here making up some positions as well, just capitalizing on some mistakes.
Yeah, taking advantage of everybody having some moments every now and then and just working up to it. You know, around this racetrack, it's a good strategy, really, to run because this is a challenge. 13 turns in all. We should not be shocked that this track is as challenging as it is, considering there's a lucky number 13 turns around here. So, you know, it's been a track that's been lucky for some, unlucky for others. The front of the field, though, we may have a fight with Tolo trying to take the race lead from Samoas. He thought about it down into the final turn. I will say, Josh, looking through the schedule that we've had up to this point in the championship, you don't really see many sections where you could have a move down into the final turn. Not in the run up to the line, no, a move down into the final corner. I feel like this track may be it, though. It's a heavy braking zone. You're pretty much flat from the exit of 10 all the way through into turn number 13. The other two kicks through there, I believe, are taken either at full throttle or at least very close to it here in these Formula Vs. If anyone wants to correct me on that, you're more than welcome to. I do not know wheel at the end of the day, but I feel like a move down to turn number 13 at the end of this race, not entirely out of the question. Certainly a move down at the end of the backstretch into turn 6, probably the one that's the smartest move, but I think a move down into turn 13, it could happen if you're feeling particularly brave.
Yeah, absolutely. This place definitely begs almost to pass almost everywhere. You feel like you can get it done. There's a couple corners that are just sort of high-speed non-corners that you're not really, you know, unless maybe somebody made a mistake that you're not going to make a pass through. But there are a lot of other corners out there that just sort of beg it, even if they are a little bit awkward. You see Ethan Orr trying to keep that rolling speed up mid-corner. And I was watching there just a moment ago, and you saw all three of the drivers in the front of this pack here all brake really, really late into the corner all at the same time. And then I saw Joshua Justice in the back just not worrying about that at all. He actually let off the gas there a couple times on the straightaway as well, as not to catch the back of these drivers. So he's definitely playing a game out there while these three race each other at the front. And that's kind of exactly what you would do in P4, I think. You're going to sit there, just kind of monopolize on a mistake that might happen. Wait till the end of the race and see if you can't pounce. And that, if I was Ethan Orr, that's what I would be doing as well. A little bit harder of a position though when you have somebody behind you as well. So for me personally, I like to be sort of in Joshua Justice's position here and just wait for it, see what happens, and then maybe you can monopolize and just pounce on them when they're not expecting it.
Yeah, so let's see if we will see an unexpected move at the end of this race. I'm sure at least one driver will try and jump scare the others and say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go for this move whenever I feel so. We brought on board with Samoas, looking back at the likes of Tullo, Orr, and Justice occupying your spots inside of the top 4 right now. Been a very good race for all of them. And look at the laps for all of them as well. Solidly in the 208s and 208s, the 204.8 and the 204.7s for all of them in terms of their last laps. And look at their best laps as well. Felix Samoas a 204.5, Tortolo a 204.4, Ethan Orr 204.4, Josh Justice 204.4. So close when it comes to the lap times. Look at the gap between Tortolo's best and Josh Justice's best. 5 thousandths of a second. We've got so many different backgrounds for those racers up at the front, some of them having real life experience, others mainly just proficient behind the wheel here in the sim, but all very talented in this series, and they're all going to give us a good battle to talk about at the end. But we jump back to find this battle for the Spec 2 lead as here comes Parviner Ladar on Brian Straczynski. Looks like he's going to back out, but he doesn't want to go for that move just yet down into turn number 6. I think these racers may try and work together, at least for now, form a brief little truce, and then once we get to the end of this race, we'll really see them take the gloves off. Stasinski running wide. Holy cow, that could have ended in tears as he had his way through turn at number 8. But he is still running at the front of the Spec 2 category right now. Ladar, on the other hand, he is still holding on to P2, so they're within striking distance. One driver, though, that could really decide this fight here, Josh, is Kurt Nunez, slotted in 8th. That Masters driver, your current Masters leader as a result of the falling anvils that came down onto Jim Brewster and Jörg Monty. I haven't really mentioned that Nunez has been able to take that spot, but right now he's kind of a bit of a rolling roadblock, for lack of a better term, for Michelle Lynn. I'm sure she's probably getting a little bit frustrated. She wants a shot at the front 2 in her class.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was muted there. Sorry about that. Yeah, we have a really good battle going in S2 here. Looks like Masters is pretty sorted out because Jim Brewster had a bit of an incident there, unfortunately, but Kurt Nunez pretty much class of the field at the moment there, but really good battle happening here in S2, so we'll have to keep an eye on this. And I think you're right. Yeah, we just got Michelle in, just got by here, so she's been kind of released. We'll see if she can't make up some more places here. Parminder Ladar's moving pretty quick today, though. That's not going to be an easy one to pass, but we definitely have a good battle in S2, and I absolutely love that. That's great. We'll have to keep an eye on it here, as well as the battle in the front. Still happening, still pretty copacetic up here. Nothing has changed too much. We do have Josh Justice. Actually, a little bit has changed, hasn't it? We have Felix Samoez, or sorry, we have Tor Tullo now bringing up the rear of this pack, and Joshua Justice in the middle, so things have changed. We'll see if we can't find exactly how that happened here shortly, as we're going too wide into, I believe that was T7.
Yeah, that was down into to turn number 6 there at the end of the back straightaway. This is turn number 7 right here. You know, this track is one that is challenging to try and learn for these racers, and challenging for us to learn on the broadcast as well. You know, despite the fact this is, I think, my 234th show or something insane like that thus far this year. This is only the second time I've done a broadcast here at Jerez in the year of 2025, and I think the third time I've ever done a broadcast here. It just does not get a lot of use in the sim. But hey, this Formula V race has been absolutely fantastic up to this point, and we're still going to have a good one to talk about at the end of it all here as well. Coming to the white flag this time by as well, Josh. So gonna have one more lap of racing action here at Jerez with 3 drivers now, all covered by nothing. What has happened to Ethan Orr? He has dropped down like a stone thrown into a koi pond. He's now in 4th, about 1.2 seconds back, so it looks like it will be between Samoez, Tullo, and Justice with the white flag in the air, but Orr had to have something going on for him because he has lost out on a boatload of time.
Have a quick peek here and see if we can't find out exactly what happened to Orr. I think maybe he just got shoved wide here, perhaps trying to make it happen. Yeah, so he basically just got kind of hung out to dry on the outside here, I believe, in a couple corners in a row, trying to get those positions made up. You know, he might be in a good position here if he can catch up a little bit more to try to get a draft and make something happen, but I've still got my eyes on Joshua Justice here. I think maybe he has a plan for this last lap.
Yeah, despite the fact he lost down some time, Ethan Orr is still there to pounce, and maybe a half a second gap as he heads his way down into turn number 5 for the final time. That can disappear in the blink of an eye. Samoez holds on to it, but he doesn't have a good exit, doesn't have a good run through the turn at all. Tortola gonna have to try and take advantage of that. I think he may have gotten set up a teeny tiny bit, and it's looking good for Justice, but he's kind of boxed in there. Look at him run on the curb there. They're gonna be 4 wide nearly as they head their way down the backstretch into turn number 6. Justice trying to wheel it around the outside. Samoez gonna hold on to the race lead. Justice runs wide. Tullo still there to pounce on the 31, but holy cow, given the Sportsman Award there for Justice, trying to wield on the outside. Here comes Tullo into turn number 8. He's gonna go side by side between the 1 and the 31, your championship leader and the reigning champion, battling tooth and nail. They bang wheels into turn number 9. Look at that. Now Justice trying to make something work on the inside of Tullo. He runs off into the track, runs into the dirt. Look at Ethan Orr trying to wheel it as well. He's there to pounce as well. I said earlier on, we may see a move into the final corner. I don't think we're at the woodwork of that just yet. They're 3 wide nearly. They had their way down to turn 11. Justice trying to wield on the inside. Doesn't have a good run through there, though. They're still 3 wide. They had their way down into the final turn. 4 cars covered by nothing.
Boy.
Samoa still leads them through. Ethan Orr carrying a whole lot of momentum. Samoa trips up. Tullo gonna get a good exit. Samoa gets an awful one. I think that may have just given the race win to Tullo. A photo finish behind. It's gonna be Tullo winning at Samoa's in P2. Orr and Justice round out your top 4. And breathe.
Wow, great call there, Ron, at the end, and that was a awesome race at the end. We were unfortunately not able to come back and have a look at the Spec 2 battle here. That looks like it was fairly close as well. We'll see if we can't get back and check that out, but what some amazing moves there from Joshua Justice and all drivers involved. That was very, very fun last lap there for sure, and I was right. He did have something in the chamber there waiting to fire, and he fired it. Didn't quite work out for him though, Ron. And once again, we have Tortullo in those moments just able to eke it out, able to make that right move, able to do the exactly the right thing at the right time, and able to pull that win out. Felix Simoes in second, Ethan Orr with a solid third, and Joshua Justice just outside the podium. No lack of effort there, though, as we see some cars getting broken down here. Perfect.
You know, that's actually a little bit premature because Brian Belansky gets across the line. That's Brian Szynski with the damage there. Whoa. You know, at this point, oh, yeah, that car is ready for the
one of the better I've ever seen.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
Today's race sponsor having some issues out there with the rig.
Hey, and there's our camera guy there. Feel the camera
he got
guy
a good shot of that.
Oh, you know.
That's one of the funnier things I've seen.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what, these Formula V's, whenever they get a disturbing amount of damage on them, they just look so incredibly stupid. And it's the funniest thing in the entire realm of iRacing broadcasting. Let's take a look at this here for Brian Szynski. I think it was into the runoff area of turn number 5.
A little premature with the crash.
Someone went off there and he just started following suit. Bang! He nearly shot the gap and just ballparked it there. I thought we were going to see him go in between that small little break in the tire barrier and just skip off away.
The cartoonish front wheel is cracking me up for sure. That was he's just losing your fillings in there for sure. Shaking your fillings.
Look how
much why that's cracking me up so bad, but it's pretty funny.
Oh, man.
Well, that was an excellent race, Ron. One of the better FE races I think we've had. Juarez again showing us a great time.
Oh man, that I'll tell you what, the Formula V Weekend Warriors is just about everything you may want here in the world of iRacing. We got some of the best racing, some of the best finishes, and some of the funniest moments as well when we see these races burn it down at the end. I am still terrified because we got this conga line heading down into turn number 8. I don't want to know what sort of demons these drivers have up their sleeves. You know, Jason Green, we haven't seen him thus far this season. The team captain there over on Slow Motion Racing. I believe he's leading the band right now of the crew currently tackling the iRacing Brickyard 400 going on right now. So I think he's not here at the present moment. We'll probably tune into this broadcast to get the highlights together for the Racing Line podcast. Catch over on Tuesday nights over on the Ray Esports YouTube channel. He's usually the one that organizes the jumps and the burning them down session. I think maybe down into the final turn that we're going to see this shenanigan-laced chaos take place. And survey says, I think one driver will end up on their lid. Let's just find out to be who it's going to be. That or these drivers. Oh, no. I was just going to say they're going to try and just play it easy and completely screw with us. But no, small little dramas. They had their way down into the final turn. I see those two. That, I believe, was Parvin Lador and Jason Grider coming up blows, but they are still running fast into turn number 1. Will they hit the brakes?
No.
They will not. Here comes Michelle.
Oh,
they're all disappearing. Okay,
that was interesting. Okay, well, kind of got robbed. A bit anticlimactic there. Yeah, they definitely got 88 miles an hour, and poof, you're gone.
They've been sent back to 1996. They're in the grandstands when Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, and Heinz Harald Frentzen tied in qualifying that year.
That'd be awesome.
Oh boy, you know, talk about whiplash. You know, we had a fantastic finish, and then we have some of the goofy shenanigans. I think we're gonna load up the results here in a couple of moments time before we move off into the interviews and let you know how close it was at the front of the field. Tortullo gets his first win of the season by less than a 1/10 of a second at the line. Felix Simoes is classed in at P2. Ethan Orr rounds out your podium in 3rd. Josh Justice had a really good shot to get it done. I think he may have made that move a little bit too early through the Kingston, keep the momentum rolling, and he stalls that to finish this race in P4, bottom of that pack, but still a pretty solid race for him regardless. Nate Colicio will round out your top 5. It will be Brian Stasinski, class in P6 at the end of this race, winning it as a sponsor of today's show. Pretty good result, if I do say so myself. Parvin Ladar will be classed right behind in P7. Michelle Lynn will round out the front trio of Spec 2 competitors in 8th. Kurt Nunez in 9th, with Dan Stasinski rounding out your top 10. We have Jim Brewster in 11th, Jason Grider in 12th, Nick Tullo in P13, Wayne Buttermore in 14th, Brian Belansky, the last of the cars to finish this race, with Jörg Mani and Donald Strout rounding out the cars that were classified at all here in this race today. But Josh, got some drivers looking to join us here in the broadcast booth, so I think I'll get things up and rolling by dragging in our winner at the end of this race by another squeaker, Tor Tullo. I think we should call him Tor Photo Finish Tullo here at this point. Tor, welcome into the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the win. Happy to talk us through the insanity of that final lap.
Oh man, that was such a tough last lap. Felix was doing what he really needed to. He was trying to keep us kind of slower behind and make us lose our momentum, and he was doing great at it. He was defending great, but there was that one little wobble right at the end, right out of the corner for him, that I managed to use. And it's been a while, but I'm back.
Yeah, back to victory lane. Your first win of the season. That comes about 6 rounds into this championship. So, hey, rounding off the first half of the season in style. We were joking a little bit earlier on in this broadcast about how we can never discredit you for at least grabbing one win or maybe even being in championship contention come time for the end of this. I want to ask you about the real-life racing adventures that you've gone up to this point here in this season, because you were running in South Africa a couple of weeks ago, if my memory serves me correctly. You want to tell us about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was really just a random moment. A Facebook ad popped up about it. I messaged them, and yeah, it just all fell together, and it was some of the best racing I've ever been a part of. It was such a pleasure. Some beautiful cars, beautiful country, beautiful food, just great everything, you know. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. And anyone listening to this, definitely race in South Africa. It puts everywhere else to shame.
Awesome.
Yeah, I may have to get my passport, not even get my passport back up and rolling, just get my passport period so I can go there and participate in a Formula V race. If anyone would dare tempt fate to even put me behind the wheel of a race car, that is. Tor, I want to ask you about your thoughts heading into the next round of the championship. Kicking off the second half of this season, running at Long Beach in 1 week's time. Are you going to be out there for that race? And if so, what are your thoughts heading into it?
Unfortunately, no, and I'm so sad about it. I've got a real life race at Snetterton, but Long Beach is one of my favorite tracks, and the last time we were there, I pretty sure I won. Yeah, so it would have been a great race to be a part of, but unfortunately, real life calls.
Yeah, I am petrified to see what that race at Long Beach could produce. With that photo finish that we had here today, I'm pretty sure tomorrow morning I'm probably going to sound like a chain-smoking line cook in a Waffle House. But I dare to even imagine what sort of demons may go on there in the Crash 'em Up Breakfast. I think the landscaping crew of the Long Beach Municipal Aquarium, whatever the heck it is around there, not going to be very happy with the racers out there. But sad to hear that you won't be out there on the racetrack, at least in the virtual realm, swapping that out for the real life seat. But Tor, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go, and brace yourself for that race at Snetterton in 1 week's time.
Just a big thank you to Brabham Motorsport as usual, and to team owner David Brabham. And big thanks to the guys I was running with today, Josh, Felix, Ethan. It was a great battle, and I'm really happy to have been a part of it. And thanks to you guys at SMB.
And thank you as well for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Tor, it must feel good to win a race by a vast yawning chasm of just a tick under 1/10 of a second. And looking forward to seeing you back out on the racetrack in the not too far off future. Good luck in that race next weekend, and we'll see you soon, Tor.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And that right there was Tor Tullo, your race winner at the end of it all here at Jerez by a very fine margin. But Josh, some more drivers up there in the interview waiting area, so I'll let you take a pick on who you want to have a chat with.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring our Masters driver of Kurt Nunez in here. We'll have a chat with him.
Alrighty, I'll drag him in at 3, 2, 1, bang.
Kurt, great racing today out there in Masters. Jim Brewster was out front for a bit and made a pretty big mistake there. Ended up behind you in a pretty easy walk to a Masters victory today. How do you like Jerez? Is it a good track for you? Do you have to do a lot of practice around here? Or was that a bit of a struggle today?
Well, I was fortunate because I raced SRF there last week, so I'm familiar with the track.
Right.
But I still not familiar with this car, so I did a bunch of practice to get into the low 205s was the best I could do by myself. Occasional height, 0.9, 4.9, but I was really hoping to move up and race Jim. We practiced together last night, and that was going to be a fun race, but I inherited the lead, and I just was conservative at that point.
Right on. Yeah, it looked like there was definitely some drivers kind of struggling a little bit out there with the track, and also with other drivers and stuff. We don't come here often, but we were here last week in the SRFs. I absolutely fell apart in the SRFs during that race. This place is not an easy one to race around. I thought I did I didn't really do a lot of practice, and this is one you have to practice for, but you were able to get out there and hold it together and take the win today. Is there anybody you'd like to thank out there, Kurt?
Yeah, just Don, I can't remember his last name, did a really nice article on the channel that talks about the setup for the SRF. So, and then he posted a set, and I took it, and I liked it, and the qualifying setup is good. So thank you for him for posting all that great information.
Awesome. Yeah, we can't do it sometimes without some help from the friends and setups and stuff for sure. I'm not a setup guy at all. So anytime anybody wants to give me a setup, I will take it. And usually it will help my racing out as well, Kurt. But good racing out there today. And we'll see you next week, man.
Yeah, Long Beach. Woohoo.
Long Beach should be a good one. One of my favorite tracks. I think we're going there in the FFs and maybe the SRFs too next week. I have to double check, but I know it's a bit of a Long Beach weekend coming up. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, me too.
Right on. We'll see you then.
See ya. Thank you.
I have to apologize there for the overlays. If anybody's watching, it is stuck on Jason Grider right now instead of Kurt Nunez. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't control my overlays. So unfortunately, we will just keep pushing forward there, Ron.
Yeah, well, in the spirit of television, the show must go on. And for one more interview, I want to drag in our Spec 2 winner at the end of this race, Brian Szynski, now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Brian, welcome in. We talked to you a little bit before the start of this race about your generous support here of today's broadcast of the Formula V Weekend Warriors, but it must have been a good luck charm walking away with the Spec 2 win at the end of it all here today. How about you talk us through it?
Yeah, back again for a double dose of interview.
Nice.
I that was an awesome race. I enjoyed it so much. I'm really happy Nate caught us up after we had split off, because he's faster than us, and having his draft really helped me hold everybody off. And it was tough at the beginning of the race because I think we were running like 205.6s. And it was just painfully slow in all the corners, and it was a struggle not to run into anybody. But that last half of the race was real fun, trying to hold everybody off. I don't know if you had it on the broadcast, but Parvinder, Michelle, and I were battling for the win on the last lap down the back straight. Parvinder went on my inside, so I kind of had to go on Nate's left into that right-hander. And Nate made it through, and then Michelle, Parvinder, and I came out of the corner 3 wide. I had the inside for the left-hander and just kind of hugged the inside and hoped that everybody fell into my mirrors, and that's what happened. And yeah, I can't remember if I've ever won a race before because it took me a while to catch on to the fact that I was S2. And so I'm unsure if this is my first win or not, but I'm going to say it. I'm definitely going to remember that I have won now. I'll say that.
I think I do recall you winning a Spec 2 race a couple of seasons ago here, but it's your first win this season, so nice result for you here at this track that doesn't get a lot of use in the sim. I want to ask you about your thoughts of this place, because it's just something you don't really see too often, a race here at Jerez.
Yeah, it's new to me. I bought it earlier this week, and I love it. It's the kind of track I like. I mean, I unlike a lot of people, I like Lebanon tracks like that. So yeah, I started running it, and I thought, boy, this is going to be really fun. I hope it races well, because sometimes they just don't race well depending on how the draft works into certain corners. And I don't know if anybody else likes it, but I love it.
Yeah, I will say, and this is honest, I think I said this before the Spec Racer Ford broadcast last weekend as well. Outside of some of the cars I've gone to broadcast here and commentate, the car that I've driven the most around here is actually the wingless 410 dirt sprint car, just driving around here until the rear tires blow up. But honestly, this Formula V race was absolutely incredible. And fortunately, we didn't really get to see that battle on the last lap, because the battle up at the front, as I said in the interview with Tor a couple of moments ago, was so intense that I'm probably going to sound like a chain smoker tomorrow morning. But man, nice to see that battle in Spec 2. Y'all always put on a good battle. And looking ahead to next week, Long Beach, that is going to either be a surprisingly clean one, or it is going to be, as a Columbia School of Broadcasting told me to say, a shiitake mushroom show.
Yeah, I've owned that track since it was a tech track, without any, just kind of gray background everywhere. And I thought it was fun to run, but they didn't give me my discount when I had to go buy it again, even though they said I'd only have to pay $5 once they completed it 5 years later. So that should be interesting too. I don't know. I remember you saying that last week about the dirt car, or the whatever you were running around this track. But yeah, well, we'll see if Formula V is going to work there. I think at least we'll make it through that last hairpin. There should be enough steering lock in it. I don't know if we can spin the rear end around or not.
Yeah, I'm really worried to see what happens with the flower bed by the fountain section. That'll be intriguing to say the very least. But Brian, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go and celebrate this win in Spec 2.
Well, shout out to Dave Tatke and the rest of the Chicago Region SCCA people for allowing us once again to take part at the June Sprints this year. And look forward to running with them in a regional at Road America again in a couple weeks. And shout out to Scott Pruitt and my wife and kids watching at home.
And there you go, man. Hey, thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth, Brian. Thank you for sponsoring this broadcast as well. Well done on the Spec 2 win, and looking forward to seeing you hit the racetrack at Long Beach in 1 week's time.
Great job.
Yeah, my pleasure, and can't wait to go watch the replay to see the battle for the overall win.
It was a good one.
You will have to pick your jaw up from the floor.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks again, guys.
And thank you as well. That right there was Brian Szynski, your race winner in the Spec 2 category at the end of this race. But Josh, that was an absolute barn burner. I wasn't sure what I was expecting heading into Jerez, but that was absolutely fantastic. But Long Beach in 1 week's time, that is going to be a rather festive occasion, to say the very least.
Yeah, that's a track that you cannot make a mistake around, basically. You can get away with little ones here and there, but if you have any sort of a big one, you're going to find a wall or a curb that's going to almost flip you over, or a hairpin that you just can't seem to turn without hitting the wall. There is a lot of stuff, a lot of pitfalls at Long Beach, but I absolutely love that track, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a place, even if you have speed, you're just going to have to try to keep it clean and stay alive around is going to be one of the hardest things. That's what I'm thinking. I know I have speed around there. It's really just going to be about trying to stay alive and not get caught up in something or get flustered or what have you, but really looking forward to it in the V's as well. And what a spectacular race we had today.
Yeah, an absolute fantastic race. Just another part of this absolutely amazing schedule that we've got of races here from the Formula V Weekend Warriors here for Season 3 of 2025. Just one more part of the absolutely awesome schedule of broadcasts that we have to look forward to week in and week out here on SMB. Of course, you can catch the rest of the Weekend Warriors action tomorrow here with the Formula Fords running at 1:45 and the Spec Racer Fords running at 3:45. They'll be running at Laguna Seca along with the IndyCars, and hopefully all of you will be able to tune into that. Speaking of Laguna Seca, though, this upcoming week on Tuesday night at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it will be round 7 of the Sim Racers Group F4 Series. That'll be at Laguna Seca, with the F3 Series running at Zandvoort. Our old pal, as I like to call him, Chairman Meow, Mr. Adam Thompson, has been tearing it up in that series, and hopefully all of you will be able to catch that. And coming up later on this evening here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we have got the action from Ron's Race Nights, week number 6 action action with the Skip Barbers at Interlagos. That'll be a really fun combination. Talk about some draft-heavy junior Formula cars. Hey, we've already seen the Formula Vs. Now we can see the old-school drafty cars with those Skippies as some of the best racing that you can see on iRacing, and you can catch it all here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But that doesn't even do it for the action that we've got coming up here. On August the 9th, you'll be able to tune into the United Sim Racing Association's running of the Sizzling Sebring 180. That'll be a really good 3-hour-long endurance sports car race at Sebring. You'll be able to tune into all of that action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And coming up in the late summer and early fall here on SMB as well, the return of the Extreme Motorsports IndyCar Championship Series. That series looking for some drivers, looking for some participation. If you'd like to hear more, either join the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server through the link that we have here on the YouTube channel, or send in some messages and we can get you hooked up to try and join that absolutely awesome series and that brand new refreshed IR18 IndyCar. That's all the stuff to look forward to here on SMB. Gives you a very good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. But after this broadcast here for round number 6 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here at Jerez, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the show here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.